I want to talk about something called the art of the long view, just for a few minutes to help people out, because right now is a really good time to be thinking a little longer term. One of the common things is that common characteristics of people who are hugely successful in life, whether that's Leonardo da Vinci in the 1500s or Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk currently in 2020, is that they have a long view. They look at the world in hundreds of years. They don't look at it in quarters like so many businesses and corporations do. They look at the world in long-term views, 200, 300, 400 years at a time. This gives them perspective on the future and make decisions that will be invested in now and pay off sometime in the future. And what I want to do with you right now is share with you a little bit about how I use this to crystal ball the future. Amy, if you can move to our vision board. I've done some pre-drawing here, and I want to talk to you about the art of the long view, crystal balling the future. We're not going to think out in 100, 200 years. I think that's very difficult for most people. I have run scenarios and visualized futures leading out over 500 years in my life as a consultant. But what I've found and what I've discovered after 53 years of life is that things work in cycles. Life goes in cycles. And I think if you look back on your life, you'll find that it works in 7 to 10 year cycles. This discussion's come up a number of times throughout the last 18, 19 days. And I want to show you how I use this to my advantage and how I think about the world and how it helps me see where the future is going and see the future in a way that a majority of people can't. I was reminded of this, and we'll have Jeffrey Kramer on as a guest. And Jeffrey is a former president of David E. Kelley, producer of a lot of television shows, and was in the movie Jaws. Was a board member of one of my companies a while ago. And he reminded me, he says, Sean, you're always seeing and looking into the future. And it reminded me that that's true. And then I thought about how can I turn that into something for Patta 2? That's this. So when I look at the world, I look at the world in cycles. I've probably had 6 or 7 cycles in my life so far. I believe 2 months ago, based upon my experience and just how things are unfolding, that a new cycle has begun for almost everybody on the planet 2 months ago. So we're in a new cycle. That means to me, that's a 7 to 10 year cycle. So I start looking at the world in 7 to 10 years. And where do I want to be over here? Yeah, how do I get to there, this vision of where I see the future, where the future's going? How do I get there? This is 10 years in that period of time. In this case, I see a future where there's far less travel, that there's a whole new economy that's going to emerge. That economy is going to be enhanced by the internet. The internet and virtual worlds that we're engaging in are going to grow. So what we're doing right now is the future. It's not just now, it's the future. And so how do I engage in that future? My first step, 31 days to Patta 2. So what I do is I break down the cycle. I know it's going to be a 7 to 10 year cycle. It's based upon life experience. We're now 2 months into a new cycle. I break it down, as we've discussed before, in 1 week, 1 month, 6 month chunks. So now I'm breaking down the actionable steps I have to take within this period of time to move forward. My goal is not limited. I'm focusing on what I can do right now to project myself and move myself one step at a time into the projected future that I see 10 years out there in the cycle. Things could change, things could morph. I'm building it based upon the experience that I have in my life, all the different vast networks that exist there, and everything I can pull in to then project forward. This is the art of future thinking. The greatest minds on the planet historically have looked at the world in 100, 200, and 300, up to 500 years, and perhaps even longer views, and then wound it back to what can I do now, this week, to impact the future 200 years out. In this case, I'm making it a little simpler for everybody and saying, let's just focus on the 10 years, but reel it back and say, what can I do in 1 week? What can I do in 1 month? And what can I do in 6 months that get me closer to moving towards this envisioned future 10 years from now? This is how I do it. This is how I see the future. And I've seen the future, experienced the future, and predicting the future over and over and over again throughout my life. And I'm starting to learn how to make that envisioned future more tangible and more real. And this continues to be the exercise I'm refining, honing, and modifying. So I encourage you to look at your life and go back, visualize it, draw it down, and see if your life actually works in 7 to 10 year cycles. I think you'll find it does. It works in 7 to 10 year cycles. And if you think about it and you project and you really say, okay, we're in a new cycle, that's an opportunity for you to plan ahead, to start thinking, okay, what do I want to be? What do I want to create? What do I envision for myself in 10 years from now? That's what you want to do. And you want to think in 1 week, 1 month, 6 month chunks. It makes it more manageable. I'm still projecting 10 years out in the future, impacting millions, if not billions of people around the world, creating a movement around Powder 2 that in 10 years is something we look back at this particular video one day and say, wow, that's how you do it. It's at least one way, but I encourage you, final thoughts, think about your life in cycles, 7 to 10 year cycles. I believe globally, we've now all started simultaneously a new cycle. You may have been in another cycle, but we're now in a new cycle. It's 2 months into a new cycle, another 7 to 10 years. And start thinking about what you can do this week, this month, and the next 6 months to advance towards your dreams, your goals, your aspirations. You can do it.